Well, thank you, James, and I really would like to extend a very warm welcome to this, the fourth government conference, and indeed thank you for your interest and engagement in participating and listening to the detail, explanations and analysis of government policies that will take place over the next 2 days. Thank you also in advance to our external speakers, particularly James Pomeroy of HSBC, who I know is up next, and indeed Ireland resident and entrepreneur Jim Mellon, who both will be giving an independent view of the economic challenges facing the globe and by extension the Isle of Man during the conference. I also know that Jim will be announcing a new investment platform in the island supporting new technologies. I am very grateful to Jim, as I am to all our business leaders who put the island at the forefront of their thinking, and I look forward to hearing more detail tomorrow. This conference takes place at a time of heightened global tensions. Last year at the conference, I bemoaned how uncertain and volatile the world felt, how rising knife crime and riots had sent vibrations through Westminster, and how the word secure in our secure, vibrant and sustainable vision needed to become very much the central focus of the next 12 months. This year, as we approach the end for this administration and look towards the next, you will hear much of the continued journey that we have been on over the last 4 years, what we have accomplished in the last 12 months, and also hear about some important and urgent changes in emphasis as we respond to the ever-increasing challenges around our special island. Tomorrow, the Minister for Home Affairs and Justice will indeed update you on what we have done to tighten our security and empower our agencies to protect and secure our island over the past 12 months. We will also update you on what we are going to do to further ensure that the Isle of Man remains as free as possible from serious and organised crime, and why we are now having serious conversations regarding the requirement to carry identification when travelling through our ports. As it stands presently, the common travel area provides limited border checks, but that does not mean that we cannot implement some form of requirements both to carry and check identification, even if that is just on a risk-based basis. But fundamentally, our focus on security over the past 12 months has proven correct. In February, we merged the ports offices into the Isle of Man Constabulary, and we continue our plans for facial and number plate technology recognition. These are often the unseen efforts of the Home Affairs and policing, but they are vital not just to protect our people, but also grow and develop our reputation as a secure and stable place to live and work. A place where sometimes we forget that we and our families can enjoy our island and live in relative safety that is not available to others. We should not take this for granted. The feeling of safety and freedom is, I would suggest, a strong contributory factor as to why estate agents and indeed tax consultants are reporting to me a significant upsurge of interest in the island from UK residents. We will not stop our efforts over the next 12 months to protect our security in a world that presents a multitude of risks to our economic and physical safety. Somewhat aligned to this theme is the focus on Moneyval and the vital assessment that will take place in October 2026. If you are not in the financial services or connected industries, this may seem somewhat of a foreign subject, but I wanted to briefly mention it today, as I know our preparations have caused some concern amongst our valued colleagues and friends in these sectors. There has been an exceptional effort across government and across industry as we continue to up our collective defences against ever-increasing financial crime. It will continue to feature highly in our priorities over the next 12 months as we must endeavour to pass this assessment with flying colours, recognising the high standards we have in place and improving our processes where these fall short. Unfortunately, we must face some pain if we are to get the gain, but I know we can get through this together and be better for it. I also spoke last year about immigration and the work we would be doing to tighten up our processes to thwart those who abuse this system. Whilst we have made some progress, there remain concerns. Last month, I convened a high-level meeting including senior officers and the Chief Constable to understand more about the checks and balances we were applying to businesses seeking to recruit skills from outside the common travel area, and indeed the data available on immigration. It is clear that we have to do more. So this year, not only are we raising minimum salary requirements for immigration and imposing a healthcare surcharge, we will also be looking to raise our thresholds further for dependent routes that offer limited economic value to us. But in continuing to tighten up, we must be aware of 3 key points. Firstly, skills are still needed in certain areas of our economy. Secondly, we must be mindful of economic value brought by new residents to our shores, and also the social cohesion our island enjoys. And thirdly, a clear and unequivocal commitment that those on visas that break our laws will have their visas terminated. We cannot afford to allow the societal splits that we are seeing elsewhere filter onto our island. Our long-held values have also been one of care and compassion and understanding. That must always prevail and should not be undermined. And in that respect, society must believe and trust that government has full and absolute control over these matters. So to aid these aims and get more control, we will also be merging our work permits and immigration processes into a single unitary service for our employers, but one with stronger controls and oversight. This will represent a single front door for those coming to the island to work, and will give us a greater insight and oversight over the employment of both foreign nationals and workers coming from within the common travel area. We also ultimately intend to move towards a mandatory registration requirement for all new workers and residents on or shortly after arrival, so we can increasingly have the confidence on who is here and that they are here legitimately. Obviously, those coming to the island need accommodation, and we're very much alive to the continued pressure in our housing market from both new arrivals, but also, and very importantly, our local residents. Since the start of this administration, we have seen over 1,300 new dwellings approved and are on track to deliver against the original ambition of over 1,000 new homes occupied. The government has also supported delivery in terms of the numbers of housing units coming through from the Manx Development Corporation and the Island Infrastructure Scheme, with over 160 housing units directly now underway, and we continue to assess incentives and disincentives to bring empty properties back to life. But despite this progress, the need for affordable housing and the challenge for our young people to get on the housing ladder remains a real concern. It's also one of the challenges we face in retaining and attracting the skills our economy needs. Therefore, we are today committing that we will substantially revise and improve our first-time buyer schemes this year. This means we will increase the salary thresholds and the upper limit on purchase prices, and more importantly, we will look to expand the level of support for the choice scheme, which allows for purchases on the open market. These initiatives will provide more opportunities for young families to access the housing market and will support our developers with the confidence to increase the rate of supply in these areas. We will also complete our work on establishing a housing agency, continue to push forward on bringing empty properties into use, and work with the local authorities to encourage them to develop housing plans and bring forward new schemes. Of course, in ensuring that we have the available housing for our young people, it is also vital that we develop the economic opportunities for them. And that is why we have put the foundations in place with a skills strategy developed by a skills board, which brings together industry, the Chamber of Commerce, together with relevant government departments. We currently have more employers than ever before offering apprenticeships and a great deal of choices available for young people. But we also recognise that some larger employers have pulled back from taking people into apprenticeships. We want to change that, and we are today therefore committing to removing the cap on apprenticeships for large employers. That will mean any qualifying business who is prepared to take on an apprentice will now get support going forward. But in talking generically about the need to focus on skills and training, I want to put that into the context of the new digital AI developments and the advances that we are now seeing. Last week, I hosted an AI summit involving leaders from both the public and the private sector. It was on the day that Google announced its £5 billion investment into the UK, and also on a day when Manx Radio carried a small, but nevertheless important headline of a loss of a business in the creative marketing sector. These two stories carry a correlation of what is to come, and it is clear now that the capabilities of AI will significantly challenge the status quo in such a way that those who are unprepared may struggle to remain competitive. And that reaches across the public and the private sector in tandem in such a way that both must be working in lockstep to realize and recognize the benefits and opportunities that are presented, as well as to ensure that we're also directing our energies to deal with many of the issues that will come with such great advances in technology. There are therefore two significant actions that must now happen and take place before this year is out. Firstly, we must create a national AI office for development, regulation and security that will coordinate the high level of strategic thinking needed to align both the private and public sector in driving forward our response. That response needs to consider skills and training. It needs to consider the frameworks under which we could consider competitive advantage, and it needs to create the pillars of clarity needed to bring this all together. Other nations are starting to move forward, and we need to catch up. From what I have seen, we are not disadvantaged, but we need to collate our thinking and progress, and we need to do this quickly. It is also clear that as part of the development of this technology, governments are going to be challenged to regulate. The recent EU AI Act is an indication of where things may be heading, and the Isle of Man inevitably will have to consider its position. Of course, regulation may also give us opportunity if we can figure out where regulation or legislation can give us a competitive advantage. Now, it is not fair to assume from this announcement that there has been no work undertaken by government in terms of trying to realise the efficiencies that can be delivered through technology. Indeed, at the heart of our efficiency programmes has been the digital delivery, and indeed improvements are being made. You can hear the latest on where this important programme is up to and what is coming during tomorrow's agenda. But we can, I am sure, all realise that £10 million a year or £50 million over 5 years, as we announced at last year's conference, is simply a base case and that we can do more. The world is rapidly changing, and that is why I hope that the collective and purposeful thinking brought together in a central AI office will aid our delivery and provide the advice and guidance to government in bringing forward its digital plans. And although it will not happen in this administration, I have asked that in the future all departmental plans now formally report on their use of AI and where they intend to improve delivery and performance through this technology. Now, secondly, in building on this development, such is the pace of change, there now needs to be a clear need to revise and refresh our economic strategy. Therefore, alongside the need to focus specifically on AI, we will need to revise the economic strategy. Now, there was a huge amount of work and analysis that went into the original strategy in 2021, involving many of our business leaders and many in this room today, that the necessity of a complete rewrite would seem unreasonable. The core foundations of the original strategy remain a good basis on which to continue to move forward. But such is the pace of change facing us, not to now address this matter and adjust our thinking given the pace and scale of global change would be irresponsible. Having an updated view of our forward outlook is an essential legacy from this administration, and I will therefore be tasking a high-level advisory board to determine the questions that need to be asked and to bring together the changes that are needed in the short to medium term. Once again, we will seek to leverage the huge amounts of knowledge and experience, insights and collaboration that sits at the heart of our economy by co-producing this refreshed strategy with our business community. The Department for Enterprise will be asked to lead this horizon scanning exercise, and your thoughts and your views will be captured and brought forward as part of the contribution. Ladies and gentlemen, this government has faced exceptional challenges: a pandemic, a cost of living crisis, damaging employment tribunals, European war. Yet we have worked steadily and responsibly through it all, protecting businesses and people during the hardest of times. We have improved our nation's security. We have invested into our healthcare. We have built more houses and developed brownfield sites. We have introduced new quality assurance measures for education. We have invested in air traffic control and in sustaining our air connectivity. And we have more people in work contributing to our economy than ever before. But such is the volatility around us, we cannot stop or take for granted the foundations on which our success is built. Over the next 2 days, you will hear more about these challenges, these opportunities, and the steps your government is taking to continue to protect our way of life, to defend our economic success, and to pave the way for continued sustainability, security, and vibrancy. The Isle of Man has always been resilient. From generation to generation, our people have adapted, innovated, and taken opportunities, even in times of uncertainty. And now, once again, we are called upon to look ahead and to act with purpose. With a revised and refreshed economic strategy, with a commitment to responsible innovation, and with stronger safeguards for our community, we can ensure that the Isle of Man remains a place of opportunity, security, and prosperity. The future is not fixed. It is shaped by the choices we make today, and together we can ensure and will ensure that our island thrives in the world that is emerging. I want to thank you all for your support in helping us navigate our journey over the past 4 years, and look forward to an engaging and important 2 days of discussion and debate to help us shape the journey ahead. Thank you.